Very good evening to all of you. So today we are going to discuss about a very important topic, that is Wilson's vision of public administration. Woodrow Wilson, that he was regarded as the father of public administration, and his theory is very vital and very important with respect to the administration in general and the public administration in particular. वुड्रो विल्सन्स की थ्योरी क्या थी? वुड्रो विल्सन्स की थ्योरी इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट कैसे हुई और वुड्रो विल्सन्स का कंट्रीब्यूशन इतना वाइटल क्यों है कि उनको फादर ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की तरह रिगार्ड किया जाता है? वुड्रो विल्सन्स के पहले भी नंबर ऑफ थ्योरीज थी with respect to the state, with respect to the political systems, etc. But what is the speciality of Wilsonian theory that he was rightly regarded as the father of public administration? वुड्रो विल्सन्स का कंट्रीब्यूशंस इतना सिग्निफिकेंट था कि उस आर्टिकल के बाद, उनके उस पब्लिकेशंस के बाद, this discipline, that is public administration, become a continuous interest area for the study. It led into the continuous emergence of the study in the later course. So वुड्रो विल्सन्स की थ्योरी बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है हमारे लिए. So आज डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स को हम लोग अपने क्लास में समझेंगे. So let us start our class. That first point we are going to discuss, that is the father of public administration. So Woodrow Wilson's, that who was Woodrow Wilson's? This aspect that I would like to make an urge to all of you, that whenever you read any important philosophy, any important theory in your optional paper or in general with respect to your general studies, do not detail too much about the autobiographical facts, means who was that particular personality and what about a lot of the things. Rather, you should focus on what actually his philosophy, what is very substantive with respect to the philosophy, because it is the civil services examination and they are primarily focused on the concept, crux and metal aspect of any of the philosophy. They actually want to testify that is your prudence with respect to your understanding with respect to any of the theory. So it's my appeal that you should take care about this aspect, that you understand anywhere or everywhere, whenever you're going to read any of the philosophy, you should focus on substantive part, then and you can try to just take care about this aspect. If you know about that other fact, that would be going to enrich your study, but primarily you should restrict yourself to understand the crux aspect of any of the theory. So let's say here the Woodrow Wilson's, that first point, that he was that a political science lecturer. In 1887, that he has written an article that is called Study of Public Administration. In 1887, he had written an article that is the Study of Public Administration, and it was published in American Political Journal. इसी आर्टिकल्स के बाद वुड्रो विल्सन्स की थ्योरी, वुड्रो विल्सन्स इतने इंपॉर्टेंट और इतने फेमस हुए. वुड्रो विल्सन्स ने अपनी थ्योरी को अमेरिकन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम और अमेरिका के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बिल्डअप किया था. अमेरिका में एक प्रॉब्लम चल रहा था, दैट इज द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम इन अमेरिका इज कैरेक्टराइज्ड थ्रू इनएफिशिएंसी, अनसक्सेसफुल हैंडलिंग ऑफ द सिचुएशंस. It means American administrative system was facing problem. So Woodrow Wilson's theory, it was developed during the crisis in America or crisis in American administrative system. So thereby Woodrow Wilson has suggested reforms in administrative system. So first point you write that Wilson's theory was reformist in character. What was that? The Wilson's theory, it was the reformist in character, and that the reform should be there with respect to the American administrative system. हम लोग इसको और अनफोल्ड करेंगे. Before to move ahead, let us understand few basic background with respect to the development of the theory. That why he was regarded as the father of public administration. Woodrow Wilson's के पहले भी lot of important theories were there, were very enriched in terms of its content as well. So Woodrow Wilson's को जब फादर ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन बोला जाता है, तो लॉट ऑफ क्रिटिसिज्म आल्सो कम, दैट द क्रिटिक्स से दैट वुड्रो विल्सन थ्योरी वाज नॉट वेरी रिच इन टर्म्स ऑफ इट्स कंटेंट. द वुड्रो विल्सन डू नॉट टॉक too much detailing about the concept of the government, the functions of the government with respect to the state craft. So thereby it's not fair that Woodrow Wilson should be regarded as the father of public administration. But हम लोग अभी देखेंगे कि yes, it should be regarded as a father of public administration. He should be rightly regarded as a father of public administration. But what was the criticism? The critics say that much before that, the Woodrow Wilson, there was theory given by, let's say, that is called Kautilya. The Kautilya's concept of Arthashastra discussed in very detailed about with respect to the state and statecraft. The Kautilya's Arthashastra, it is considered to be a treatise on what the state theory with respect to the, let's say, concept of statecraft. Similarly, there was philosophy given by Confucius. The Confucius theory was very, it was also laden with very enriched content with respect to state, the detailing about the state and statecraft. Similarly, lots of other arguments were come like the Machiavelli concept of the prince. So thereby, विल्सन्स के थ्योरी में ऐसी क्या स्पेशलिटी है कि उसको फादर ऑफ पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की तरह रिगार्ड किया जाता है? उसके पहले ये थ्योरी इतने इंपॉर्टेंट थे, इतने इलाबोरेट है, इतने कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव है, बट व्हाट इज द वेरी यूनिकनेस अबाउट द विल्सन्स थ्योरी? सो द पॉइंट इज दैट जब भी हम लोग थ्योरी को इवैल्यूएट करते हैं, it should be evaluated and it was evaluated on the basis of its impact, right? So it was the impact of the Wilson's theory that was very vital. ये विल्सन्स थ्योरी का इम्पैक्ट ही है कि उसके बाद ये जो पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एक डिसिप्लिन की तरह स्टैब्लिश हुआ, ये पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एक सेपरेट एरिया ऑफ स्टडी की तरह डेवलप हुआ, ये एक डिसिप्लिन जो एरिया ऑफ इंटरेस्ट की तरह डेवलप हुआ, राइट? सो देयरबाय you can write that the Wilson's theory was very impactful. Woodrow Wilson was regarded as a father of public administration, not because of its enrichment of content, because that his theory was not very rich in terms of its content, that Woodrow Wilson's theory was not very detailing with respect to the government, not detailing very with respect to the functions of the government. Rather, the Woodrow Wilson's theory became very impactful, because it is the impact of the Woodrow Wilson theory that led into a continuous interest with respect to the study of the discipline. It led into a separate area of the discipline. उसके बाद एक continuous process की तरह ये discipline emerge होता है. So beginning point, it is the Wilson's theory. The reference point, it is the Wilson's article. So that is why the father, he was rightly regarded as the father of public administration. The first point you are getting कि father of public administration क्यों बोलते हैं उसको? Because the Woodrow Wilson's theory was very impactful. It is the impact of the Wilson's theory that led into a continuous interest with respect to the study of the discipline, with respect to the establishment as a separate discipline, and not in terms of its enrichment of its content. ठीक है? अब Woodrow Wilson's की theory, first point what I said, that it was reformist in character, that it was developed with respect to, there were certain problems with respect to the American administrative system. America is facing certain crisis. The American administrative system was not performing. It becomes inefficient. It becomes not successful, right? So American context में इनकी theory build up की गई थी और ये theory develop किया गया था. He started from here that there is something called dilemma with respect to study of the state. What by the first point? He said कि problem क्यों है? Problem is because there is some dilemma with respect to approach of the state and study of the state. He said that there was the problem with respect to understanding, that we are trying to address the problem through the lens of the political science, and we are missing a very crux that is called external part of the state, the visible part of the state, the functional part of the state. Yes aspect को हम लोग missing कर रहे हैं, and हम लोग सिर्फ किस पे focus करते हैं? The philosophical part of the state, theoretical part of the state, and we are continuously neglecting the external part of the state, the substantive part of the state, the visible part of the state, the vibrant part of the state. So he tried to first of all make a distinction कि why there is a problem. Problem is because we are trying to visualize the state through the lens of only theoretical aspect, the philosophical aspect, that is called the academic aspect. We are not, and we are continuously neglecting the practical aspect, the substantive aspect, the government in actions or external part of the state. Because in the state two aspect, okay, so we are trying to unfold that one. He said that political science It is primarily dominating because political science is what? Addressing the philosophical part of the state. And why this addressing the philosophical part of the state? Because political science is equipped with certain terminologies that actually making it enable to address only the philosophical part of the state. But problem क्यों हो रहा है? Due to its external part of the state is missing. तो external part of the state के लिए हमको उसके external part को study करना पड़ेगा, and that is why it requires a separate set of skills and separate set of discipline, और उसी discipline को बाद में पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की तरह स्टैब्लिश किया गया. ठीक है. सो अमेरिकन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एक चीज बोला जाता था उस समय, दैट इट इज वेरी इजी टू फ्रेम ए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बट इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू रन ए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. और अमेरिकन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम में जब भी कोई प्रॉब्लम शुरू होता था तो वो किस पे फोकस करते थे? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस को ही चेंज करने में फोकस करते थे, एंड कॉन्टिन्यूअस नेग्लेक्ट किसको करते थे? एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को नेग्लेक्ट करते थे, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम को नेग्लेक्ट करते थे. So administration क्या है? I already repeatedly defined out many of the times. It is a what? A group of activities undertaken by a group of peoples, or systematic activity undertaken by a group of people for the attainment of a goal, for the attainment of a common goal. And in the entire meaning part, we have discussed the different viewpoints with respect to administration and what is the meaning of public administration given by the Dichotomy. So Dichotomy has given publicness character. Okay, so it means to take care of the people under the arms of the state. So all the activities taken by the government to take care of the people, to serve the people, that is called the public administration. So public administration, public bureaucracy. So it is the vibrant part, it is the visible part. So come back. Woodrow Wilson said that in America, what was the basic approach? That they, whenever there is a problem, they started to change even the constitution, and they continuously neglecting their administrative system. So ये continuous neglect होने के चलते ये problem है, that is the problem of inefficiency, the problem of malfunctioning of American administrative system. Here needs reform. So thereby he suggested some reforms कि क्या क्या होना चाहिए. So ये first premise था. So first point you should write that in the context of America and in the context of American administrative system, there was a problem of inefficiency and there was a problem of failure of American administrative system, because the basic approach was that they focused on reforming the constitution in continuous neglect of what? The administrative system. So thereby, and this problem is because with respect to dilemma with respect to approach of the state. And what was the dilemma with respect to approach of the state? They always focus on that state through the lens of political science, means through the lens of the philosophy, through the lens of theory, and they continuously neglect the what? The visible part of the state, the external part of the state. That visible external government in action is called public administration. ठीक है? So हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? We have to develop a separate set of skill, a trained pool of cadre that is going to equip with the external part of the state, and that should be trained with the public administrative concept and instrumentalities. तो ये Woodrow Wilson का पहला premise था. So then he further said कि ये problem क्यों है, and he tried to explain why this problem. He said that, and he basically given the two viewpoints. कि this problem, एक तो traditional argument, and second he talks with respect to the evolutions of the state. तो दोनों को हम लोग समझते हैं कि traditional argument क्या था, that traditionally, generally we visualize the state through the lens of political science. हम लोग पहले भी बात कर चुके हैं in our this scope. So the political science state के what? The philosophical part of the state पे focus करता है, and external part of the state was missing. And why it was that? Because there was a continuous development of the state. हम लोग फिर इसमें evolution of state में भी देखेंगे that during the ancient time, what was the acceptable form of this? That is called administration. It was monarchy, right? During this monarchy, there was centralization of power, right? That during this monarchy, this nature of the government structure, it was simpler. The nature of activity, it was limited because that objective was not the welfare activity, right? So thereby, during this ancient time, that the political science, the philosophy with respect to the statecraft, they actually take care about all the external part. External part simpler था, nature उसका complex नहीं था, इसलिए उसको easily handle किया जाता था. Technically, rule of thumb वाला aspect, So you simply write that in the earlier time, in the ancient time, the external part of the state was simpler. It was simpler. It was limited. The government functions was limited. So thereby, the philosophical part, the political science, take care about itself. कोई हमको स्पेशलाइज स्किल की जरूरत नहीं थी. द फंक्शंस लिमिटेड था, इसलिए कोई स्पेशलाइज ट्रेनिंग की जरूरत नहीं थी. सो देयर बाय, और ये एक्सटर्नल पार्ट ऑफ द स्टेट बहुत विजिबल भी नहीं था. सो देयर बाय जो पॉलिटिकल साइंस दैट इज कॉल्ड फिलोसॉफिकल पार्ट ऑफ द स्टेट के अंदर में ही एक्सटर्नल पार्ट ऑफ द स्टेट सब्ज्यूम्ड था. बट इन द मॉडर्न टाइम आफ्टर 17th and 18th century, that after the enlightenment, industrializations, and during the after the Renaissance period, that what the nature of organizations, nature of the government activity, it becomes wider. Even the nature of activities becomes so complex. And which one is the biggest organization? It is the government. Let's say for India, it is the government of India is the biggest organization. Secondly, for America, it is the government of America, it is the biggest organization. So thereby, that in the modern time, that is called organizations become so big, so wider. The activities become so complex. So thereby, the visible part, external part of the state, which focus on implementation aspect of the public policies and laws, it is not should be taken in a ad hoc way. अब हमको एक स्पेशलाइज्ड स्किल चाहिए, एक स्पेशलाइज्ड मशीनरी चाहिए. सो दैट इज व्हाई द विजिबल पार्ट ऑफ द स्टेट एंड द फिलोसॉफिकल पार्ट ऑफ द स्टेट दोनों में सिग्निफिकेंट डिफरेंस है. एंड इसी डिफरेंस को यदि हम लोग नहीं समझेंगे, सो देयर बाय वी शैल कंटिन्यू विद द प्रॉब्लम्स. So why there is a problem? Because that during the ancient time, during the earlier time, the visible part of the state is subsumed under the philosophical part of the state. But in the modern time, the visible part, the external part of the state, the government in action is very visible. It has become very complex. The nature of activity got changed. The organizations become so complex, organization becomes so wider, the government functions become unlimited, you can say. So thereby, it cannot be taken in an ad hoc way. इसके लिए एक स्पेशलाइज्ड मशीनरी चाहिए. एंड दैट इज व्हाई हियर वी हैव टू फोकस ऑन ए स्पेशल दैट इज कॉल्ड पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. हियर वी हैव टू फोकस ऑन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एंड वी हैव टू डिस्टिंग्विश द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन फ्रॉम पॉलिटिकल साइंस. तो ये का दिस इज द फर्स्ट एस्पेक्ट. नाउ लेट अस से द सेकंड एस्पेक्ट दैट इज द कॉल्ड द इवोल्यूशन ऑफ द स्टेट. द वुड्रो विल्सन सेड दैट के स्टेट हैज इवॉल्व्ड थ्रू 3 phases. Okay, what? That state has evolved through 3 phases. And these 3 phases are, so the 3 phases are the period of absolute rule, second, the period of struggle for constitutionalism and the popular control, third, it is the period of constitutionalism and the popular control. Okay, what is the first one? The period of absolute rule, second, the period of struggle for constitutionalism and the popular control, third, that is period of constitutionalism and popular control. Let us understand one by one. The period of the absolute rule. Okay, so period of absolute rule, first of all you jot it down. Okay, so period of absolute rule means what? It was the time of monarchy. Okay, so monarch was absolute. Okay, because there is centralization of power. That monarch is the supreme authority, and that is the acceptable form of the government. So come back and go to the Weber. The Weber's concept of what? The bureaucracy. So during this time, when he developed the system, administrative system that is called bureaucracy, before that what he discussed? He discussed about the types of authorities. And he find out what? There was the traditional authority, then there was what? Charismatic authority and legal rational authority. So the traditional authority, that what? Basis of obedience was what? That custom, traditions, conventions, and this authority when gives rise to a administrative system, that was what? That is called the patrimonial administrative system. So patrimonial administrative system क्या था? यही तो monarchy है. ठीक है? So monarchy में क्या होता है? King, Sultan, like Delhi Sultanate. During this time, the Sultan, that he was called the supreme authority. Let's say that Mughal Empire, that is called emperor, he was called supreme authority. During time Mauryan times, that is called Mauryan Empire, that is called Chandragupta Maurya, that is called King Asoka, that Emperor Asoka, Samrat Asoka, he was the supreme authority. But the nature of state was simple. The nature of government activity was limited. So यही बोला गया इसमें कि the period of absolute rule. So during this time, this external part of the state, this was missing. The focus of government activity was not focusing on the external part of the state, because during the nature of activity was limited, so thereby ये जो philosophical part of the state है यही अपने अंदर external part of the state को भी subsume किए हुए था. So this was the period of the absolute rule, absolute monarchy. You can also refer entirely discussion on what that is called traditional authority and the patrimonial administrative system, that is called monarchy wala aspect. Now as the time moves on, okay, so second come, that is called the period of the constitutionalism, that is called period of struggle for constitutionalism and the popular control. What was that? During the 18th and the 19th century, okay, or you can call it the later part of the 17th and 18th century. What was that? There was reforms, there was Renaissance, Enlightenment, then Industrial Revolutions in 19th century. So during this time, what happened? There was rise of what? Individualism. They start demanding about liberty, equality, justice, democracy, parliamentarism. So these are called abstract ideas. They are called abstract values. So you can simply write here in the second point that during this period of the struggle for constitutionalism and popular control, the focus of the government in action was still missing. The focus was on some abstract ideas like democracy, parliamentarism, popular sovereignty, justice, liberty, equality, etc. But still, the government in action during this period was also missing. यहाँ पर दो टर्म यूज किया गया है, that is called constitutionalism and popular control. What is constitutionalism? ये constitutionalism आपको समझना चाहिए. The constitutionalism, it's a wider concept, and we will take up an administrative law. That chapter widely discussed or deals with the concept of constitutionalism and administrative law in the details. But अभी के लिए आप इतना समझो कि constitutionalism, it is a political environment where the government is defined, where the government is you can say limited. So thereby technically we can call a limited government is called constitutionalism. So constitutionalism, which is based on the rule of law, right? So constitutionalism what? It is a political environment है जहाँ पर government undefined नहीं होगा, government despotic नहीं होगा, government absolute नहीं होगा, government कैसा होगा? Limited government होगा, government के ऊपर में कैसा होगा? Checks and balances होगा, government कैसा होगा? Accountable होगा, government कैसा होगा? Transparent होगा. So thereby the functions of the government are defined. The functions of the government is what? Detailing. The functions of the government is limited. So thereby that is called a constitutionalism. That environment is called constitutionalism. That setup is called constitutionalism. And constitutionalism is operates through what? Rule of law. Okay? Rule of law, possibly in your political science you have also understand, that is called A.V. Dicey's concept of the rule of law. ठीक है, हम लोग एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव लॉ में और डिटेल्स में पढ़ेंगे. So first thing you write that what is constitutionalism? It is a political environment where the government is defined, government is limited. Technically, that limited government is called the constitutionalism, and which is based on the rule of law. Okay. Now, second point, that is called popular control. It is called popular sovereignty. Okay. Popular sovereignty in political science you must have read. What is popular sovereignty? The peoples are supreme. In a democracy, what is the ultimate master? That peoples. Okay. The peoples are the master, and every setup is for the service of the people. So public administration, Duit Waldo का concept पे जाओ. What is the Duit Waldo said? The politician Duit Waldo said that all the activities undertaken by the government to serve the people, to look after the people. So why the people to looking after the people? Because in democratic setup, the peoples are the masters. Getting my point? Because the peoples are the supreme authority, because popular control lies in the people. So the democracy is what? The center of governance is the people. Democracy is what? It is a conditions where everyone is equal, everyone is dignified, everyone is empowered. And here, entire center of governance, it is the people. So who is the supreme master? It is the people. Getting my point? So popular sovereignty means the people are the supreme master, that ultimate authority lies with the people. ठीक है. सो जब एनलाइटनमेंट का पीरियड चल रहा था, एनलाइटनमेंट, रेनेसां एनलाइटनमेंट, इंडस्ट्रियल रिवॉल्यूशन के बाद द वैल्यूज पे किस तरह का फोकस किया गया? लाइक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म, लाइक लिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट, लाइक द डेमोक्रेसी, ओके, दैट लाइक द जस्टिस, लाइक इक्वालिटी, लाइक लिबर्टी, लाइक द फ्रेंच रिवॉल्यूशन से याद करेंगे आप, दैट व्हाट वाज दैट? लिबर्टी, इक्वालिटी, फ्रैटर्निटी. Then lot of revolutions like American Revolution, French Revolutions हुए इसके backdrop में, and they primarily trying to focus the abstract values जिनको बोलते हैं, democracy, limited government, parliamentalism, right? So thereby ये period था at 17th, 18th और particularly earlier part of the 19th century. इस समय भी the government in actions क्या था, ये missing था, right? But when that struggle was won, it means that when constitutionalism and popular control was established, that is the third phase. So इसके बाद क्या हुआ कि that the constitutionalism, limited government was established, rule of law was established, popular sovereignty was established. So now the government in actions become so vibrant. The government in action becomes so inevitable. The government in action cannot be taken in a layman's way. It cannot be taken in a ad hoc way. Government in actions requires a specialized set of skills, and it requires a specialized set of the discipline, a separate set of discipline, and that is the beginning of the public administration. So the 1887, that is called Woodrow Wilson's article, that is called Study of Public Administration started, and यहाँ पर you can refer to our the orientation lecture. Okay, why I am referring this? Because in orientation that there is a linkage. You will find that before this period, that is called earlier the organizations are managed on the basis of what? Rule of thumb. Because organizations were small, the functions were limited, the function nature of activities was simple, so thereby organizations are managed on the basis of what? Memory, on the basis of limited experience, on the basis of what? That is called ad hoc way. So that requires not a very sophisticated set of the knowledge, but after the industrial revolution, the nature of activity increased, the nature of organizations was becoming complex, and thereby the activities cannot be taken in a ad hoc way. It requires a systematic study, and that is why there is a need for science of administration. So thereby the scholars during the scientific management movement, what they advocated? They advocated the rule of thumb should be replaced with science of management. What is science of management? That is systematic approach to study the organizational management to bring the organizational efficiency. So यहीं से शुरू होता है. That is called Taylor, Fayol, and lot of the public administrative thinkers came. So thereby that during this the constitutionalism and the popular sovereignty, this visible part of the state, जिसको government in actions बोलते हैं, that को public administration बोलते हैं, it becomes so vibrant. So you write 2 points. That during this third phase, the government in actions is become inevitable. Okay? Why it is inevitable? Because there was a shift of power from the monarch to the common man. It means there was a shift of power in the nature of state from laissez-faireism to the welfare state. Now, state is taking all the activities, whatever required for the well-being of the society, well-being of the citizens. So thereby responsibilities of the state become so wider. So thereby if responsibility becomes so wider, it should be effective allocations of the public values. There should be effective delivery of the goods and services. और जब effective delivery of goods and services की चाहिए, तब आपको कैसी चीजें चाहिए? एक professional instrument चाहिए, a professional machinery चाहिए, and that is the administration. So thereby none of the activities during the third phase cannot be taken in a ad hoc way. So thereby every activity is a specialized activity. So 2 points आप लिखेंगे. The first point, that government in action become inevitable. Second point, none of the activities can be taken in a layman's way, ad hoc way. It requires a specialized skill, or it requires a specialized machinery, and that machinery and that setup is called public administration. That machinery, that setup is called public administration. Getting my point? So these are the 2 important arguments, and you can call it, this is called premise of the Wilsonian theory, and it is called content of the Wilson's theory. What he said, that why there is a problem in American administration? Problem in American administration is because that approach, there is something called dilemma with respect to the approach of study of that is called state, because we are trying to focus the problems through the lenses of political science, but political science primarily focus on philosophical part of the state. But during this time, that is talking on the third period, that is called period of constitutionalism and popular control, the visible part is very vibrant. The visible part requires a specialized skill, and thereby it is very that is something called that requires a separate discipline, that is called public administration. He said, what is 2 points? That public administration is now inevitable, and thereby this is a separate discipline which requires a specialized activity and specialized machinery. लेकिन ये specialized machinery कैसे है and how we make it so specialized? Then he taken the concept of politics administration dichotomy. So politics administration dichotomy, let us we will see that one. So Woodrow Wilson, what he said, that we requires an inevitable machinery, inevitable the instrument, that is something specialized, that is something very technical. So how that ongoing the machinery, that ongoing the instrumentality becomes so specialized, so technical, क्योंकि American administrative system उस समय system पे काम कर रहा था, that led into inefficiency. So Woodrow Wilson say that here we have to separate the discipline, that is political science and administration. And how you separate? Through the concept of politics administration dichotomy. So politics administration dichotomy में क्या actually concept है कि that the political science and administration, these are the two separate things. These are the two different things. So thereby politics or administration dichotomous है. The politics administration दोनों integrated नहीं है. The political questions are not the administrative questions. The nature of politics is not the nature of administration. He said that the politics is what? The politics is the abstract. The politics is that inconcrete, and the area of politics, the arena of politics operates through, that is called negotiations. It operates through pulls and pressures. It operates through the compromise. That it is an arena which primarily focused on the public policies and law making. What he said, that politics, it is an arena that operates through that compromise, negotiation, pulls and pressures. It is an arena which is what? That is called abstract. It is an arena which is inconcrete. Politics, it is an area which deals with the law making, that is policy making, policy framing. But come back, the visible part of the state, that is called administration. This administration is specific. The administration is concrete, and that this arena of administration, the area of administration operates through the technicism, scienticism, rationality. The administration deals with the implementation of the laws and implementation of the politics. So thereby, what is administration? The administration is concrete, administration is more specific, and administration, this arena of administration operates through the scienticism, rationality, the technicism. Right? So administration and politics, they are the two separate area, they are the two separate disciplines. There is a dichotomous relationship between the politics and administration. You cannot make it generalize कि politics के अंदर में ही administration है, because during this time the administration become inevitable. Thereby visible part of the state, it cannot be ignorant. It becomes specialized, and it requires a specialized skill and a specialized discipline. So इस तरह से उन्होंने बोला कि how you make the ongoing system to be specialized, that he focused on the politics administration dichotomy. उन्होंने बोला कि politics ये है, administration ये है. Politics एक एरिया है जो abstract है, जो फोकस करता है फ्रेमिंग पे, और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एक एरिया है जो फोकस करता है इम्प्लीमेंटेशन पे. एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ज्यादा सब्सटैंटिव है. एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज व्हाट? इट इज मोर द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन पार्ट. सो राइट ए स्टेटमेंट दैट वुड्रो विल्सन से दैट administration is more business like and politics is less business like. Right? According to Woodrow Wilson, that in the politics administration dichotomy, he said that administration is more business like and politics is less business like. In this way, he distinguished between the politics administration dichotomy. Okay? So this is the principle and theory with respect to politics administration dichotomy. So he further said, you write again in a statement, he further said that the political questions are not administrative questions. The nature of politics is different from the nature of administration. He further said that in the Wilson's theory, we try to explain about the bureaucracy, that what should be the nature of bureaucracy. He said that the bureaucracy can exist when it is taken out from the light of the politics and the values, standards and objectives of bureaucracy should be bureaucratic. Let us understand this. So in the ongoing discussion of this politics administration dichotomy, Wilson has also said with respect to the bureaucracy, what is bureaucracy? Go back to the Weber. What is bureaucracy? Bureaucracy, a body of appointed officials. It is a generic concept, and that is from bottom of hierarchy to the top of hierarchy. That is called bureaucracy, and he had given the structural and the functional characteristics of the bureaucracy. Hopefully, all of you have remembered. You must remember, because bureaucracy, it is the most important chapter of public administration, and Weber's concept is most vigorous and Weber's concept is most acceptable. Getting my point? Now come back. Here Woodrow Wilson say that the bureaucracy can exist only when the bureaucracy can exist. You can write this statement that bureaucracy can exist only when it is taken from the light of the politics, or you can write, you can taken out from the light of the politics. The values, standards and objectives should be bureaucratic, right? So what is he said? The bureaucracy can exist only when it is taken out from the light of politics. The values, standards and objectives should be bureaucratic. Actually, politics administration dichotomy ही है ये. What is bureaucracy? Bureaucracy basically he trying to refer the administration, and political lights मतलब politics की जो bureaucracy के terminologies हैं, जो bureaucracy जो कि administration को represent करता है, इसकी equipments हैं जो कि इसको implementations के लिए enable करता है. But politics इसके equipments इसको the philosophical part को study करने के लिए enable करता है. इसीलिए distinctions है. ब्यूरोक्रेसी जो कि वेलफेयर ऑफ द पीपल के लिए डायरेक्ट काम करता है, यदि उसके वैल्यूज, स्टैंडर्ड, ऑब्जेक्टिव ब्यूरोक्रेटिक नहीं हो, तब क्या होगा कि ये ठीक से काम नहीं करेगा. और यही तो प्रॉब्लम है अमेरिकन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम्स का. सो क्या क्या वैल्यूज, स्टैंडर्ड, ऑब्जेक्टिव्स है? बेसिकली वही है द स्ट्रक्चरल फीचर्स ऑफ द ब्यूरोक्रेसी जो मैंने बताया था इन द वेबर्स कॉन्सेप्ट में. क्या था? दैट इट शुड बी हायरार्की. व्हाट इट शुड बी? व्हाट the hierarchy, there shall be sphere of competency, there should be specialization with division of work. That bureaucracy should be what? Merit based. That bureaucracy should be what? That there shall be the career service. It means the important thing that bureaucracy, that it was instrumental in character in the democratic setup. So bureaucracy कैसा होना चाहिए? Instrumental होना चाहिए. But bureaucracy में यदि institutional character आ जाएगा तो वो कैसा होगा? The corruptions, malfunctioning breed करेगा. ठीक है? You that if you not trying to unfold that, go back to the Weber's lecture. So I have discussed entire the things with respect to the Weber's concept of the bureaucracy. So what he said that the administration is distinguished from the politics, and with respect to most vibrant arm exercised with the bureaucratic setup, the bureaucracy, their values, standard and objective of bureaucracy, it should be bureaucratic. It means what? That its structural features, entire 7 features of the bureaucracy, that these features are distinguished from the philosophical features, because philosophical features focused on political, that philosophical aspect of the state, and the structural features of bureaucracy make it instrumental. लेकिन instrumental character खत्म कब हो जाता है? जब वो undemocratic system हो. So यही चीज American administrative system में है, because in American administrative system there are 2 problems. What are the 2 problems? Number 1, there is a spoil system, and number 2 is what? So in American administrative system, there are 2 problems. There is spoil system, and number 2, whenever there is a problem, they focus to change the constitution, and there is a complete neglect of administration. Okay, so there you write the 2 point. So actually we are studying after this theory building that what that Woodrow Wilson said with respect to the problems in American administrative system. What were the problems? He said that there are 2 problems of American administrative system. First, it is the problem of spoil system, and number 2, in the America, whenever there is a problem, then they reforms, they will change the constitution, and they continuously neglect the administration. So write these points. So these 3 are the 2 problems. The first is the spoil system, and second one, it is the change of constitution and the continuous neglect of administration. Try to understand it. Spoil system क्या होता है कि the spoil system, that the type of administrative system which is based on what? Loyalty, which is based on nepotism, which is based on ascriptions, right? It is not based on merit. It is not based on, let's say, recruitment policies should be fair basis. Okay, it means the features of bureaucracy इसमें नहीं होंगे. So that is called spoil system. And due to this spoil system, that American administrative system become a layman's administrative system. What? Due to this spoil system, that American administrative system, it becomes a layman's administrative system. लेकिन administrative system कैसा होना चाहिए? It should be specialized like bureaucracy. It should be instrumental like bureaucracy. It should be professional like the bureaucracy. But due to the existing spoil system in America, American administrative system turns into what? The layman's administrative system. And due to this layman's administrative system, that administrative system is not performing. So that American administrative system attains the institutional character. It attains the institutional character. And what? That it lost the instrumental character. ठीक है? लेकिन ब्यूरोक्रेसी क्या बोलता है कि ब्यूरोक्रेसी शुड बी इंस्ट्रूमेंटल, तभी इफिशिएंट है ना. If it is bureaucracy is instrumental, तो क्या बताया था मैंने? That it should be marked with what? Efficiency. It marked with honesty, integrity, professionalism, technicism, scientificism. तो ये सारा अच्छे से काम करेगा. But due to this spoil system, American administrative system lost this instrumental character and attains what? The institutional character. Institutional character means, let me show the man, I will show you the rule. But the rule based, even the system become the end. End क्या होना चाहिए? Service of the people. End क्या है? Citizen है. But यहाँ पर institutional character होने के चलते end क्या हो गया? तुम्हारा even the administrative system. So this is the first problem, that is called problem of spoil system. The American administrative system becomes a layman's and it lost the specialized character. It lost the instrumental character and attains the institutional character. That is why corruption है, inefficiency है, malfunctioning है. Now, the second problem कि जब अमेरिका में जब भी इस तरह के प्रॉब्लम शुरू होते हैं तो अमेरिका फोकस्ड ऑन व्हाट? चेंजिंग द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंस्टेड ऑफ रिफॉर्मिंग द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. ठीक है, दिस इज द सेकंड पॉइंट. सो अमेरिका दे ट्राई टू फ्रेम a new constitution because there is a statement Woodrow Wilson used that it is easy to frame a constitution than to run a constitution. He said that कि जब भी कोई प्रॉब्लम होती है तो तुरंत आप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन चेंज कर देते हैं. प्रॉब्लम क्या है? एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में है. ये क्यों था? बिकॉज अप्रोच वाला एस्पेक्ट है. बिकॉज अप्रोच वाज दैट कि प्रॉब्लम शुड बी ऑब्जर्व्ड, विजुअलाइज्ड थ्रू द लेंसेस ऑफ फिलोसॉफिकल एंगल, दैट इज पॉलिटिकल साइंस. लेकिन प्रॉब्लम क्या है? द पॉलिटिक्स एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन डाइकोटोमी नहीं है. तो जब पॉलिटिक्स एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन डाइकोटोमी हुई तब विड्रो विल्सन ने बताया कि इट इज द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. सो सेकेंड एस्पेक्ट क्या था कि अब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस क्या है? इट्स एब्स्ट्रैक्ट, इट प्रोवाइड्स अ पैराडिग्म, इट्स प्रोवाइड अ फ्रेमवर्क. So he used a statement like that it is the good constitution which provides the necessary condition, but it do not provide a sufficient conditions. What he said that कि किसी भी अच्छे conditions होने के लिए constitution के साथ साथ administration को भी अच्छा होना पड़ता है. So constitution is as good as its administration. So what he said that in America that whenever such crisis happens, there is a inefficiency with respect to the administrative system. They primarily focused on changing the constitution instead of reforming the administrative system. So due to the continuous neglect of this administrative system, that administrative system becomes inefficient, lost the instrumental character and attained the institutional character, thereby breeding the corruption, thereby breeding the inefficiency, thereby breeding the malfunctioning. So what did they require? They required the reforms in administrative system. The reforms in administrative system so that it can again attain the efficient character and attain the instrumental character. Right? So there is the statement that the constitution is as important as its administration. ठीक है? So ये Wilson's vision थे with respect to the public administrations. So let me conclude and in the nutshell what we studied today. That in today's class we have understood and trying to understand possibly the Wilson's contributions with respect to the public administration as a discipline. So Woodrow Wilson, he was regarded as the father of public administration, but initially there were critics who said that although the Wilson concept or Wilsonian theory, it was not rich in terms of its content. So why he should be regarded as a father of public administration? Even much before that, the Woodrow Wilson's, there was theory given by the Cordelia, the theory given by the, let's say, Machiavelli, the theory given by, let's say, Confucius. There are very rich detailing with respect to the state craft. But what is the very uniqueness with respect to the Woodrow Wilsons? So it is the impact of the Woodrow Wilsons that which make the discipline so interesting, that it makes a continuous emergence and evolution of the discipline. So the scholars started taking a interest with respect to the discipline. So thereby, due to this impact of Woodrow Wilson, he was regarded as the father of public administration, and it was rightly regarded as the father of public administration. So he discussed and described in the context of America, that in American administrative system is malfunctioning, it is inefficient because there were certain differences. But why the problem? Because visible part of the state, that is called public administration or administration, it was continuous neglect, and they primarily focused on what? Only philosophical part, that every time they change the constitution instead of bringing the reforms in administration. He explained why happened so. Because there is a dilemma with respect to the approach of the state, because that state and problems of the state are always taken through the lenses of political science. He explained that in the evolutions of the state, that state has evolved through the three stages. There is a period of the absolute rule and monarchy. So during this period, that the government, it was limited, the functions of the government was limited, the state, that it was simpler, and that activity was simpler in nature. So thereby, it do not require a specialized branch of study and a specialized set of skills and a specialized machinery. So thereby, philosophical part of the state itself subsumes the external part of the state. So there was no necessary for the public administration. So identity crisis में भी मैंने बताया था that whenever there was the conflict between the political science and that is called public administration, how the scholars defended, you can also add on here. Now, when the time passes, and during the second later part of the 18th century, there was the period of the Renaissance, Enlightenment. The people's getting aware, the people becoming more and more aware with respect to rights, liberties, duty, and during this time, that even the focus on the values, like you can call it the abstract values like democracy, parliamentarism, popular sovereignty. But even during this time, that government in action, the focus towards the government in action, it was also missing. But when the constitutionalism and the popular sovereignty was established, the rule of law was established, then that public administration becomes so vibrant. Government in action become inevitable, and the functioning become complex. Thereby, none of the activities in the third phase or none of the activities in the third period cannot be taken in an ad hoc way, layman's way. It requires a specialized skill. Thereby, there needs a specialized study. And how you can go with the specialized study? Then given the concept of politics administration dichotomy. He said that the political questions are not the administrative questions, and the politics is different from the administration. Administration is more business-like and politics is less business-like. He further used a statement that the bureaucracy that you should be, in order to remain functional, it has to be taken out and it has to be removed from the lights of the politics. Thereby, the standard objective and values of the bureaucracy, it should be bureaucratic. And what was the bureaucratic? The Weber's, the structural 7 features, right? You can add on. So in this way, he tried to distinguish between the politics and administration. And after he explained about why there is a problem in American society. Because in American society, there are two inherent problems. The administrative system is a spoil system. And second, that American focused on changing the constitution and not focused on the reforming the administration. So due to this spoil system, the American system become what? Laymaness, unprofessional. But that administration requires professionalism, specialized, bureaucratic, right? Instrumental in character, not institutional in character. And since that American system is based on a spoil system, that is why it's attaining the institutional character, thereby breeding the corruption, inefficiency, malfunction. It requires reforms. Second, he said that in American focused on changing the constitution because it is easy to frame a constitution than to run the constitutions. Constitution is inevitable in the era of constitutionalism and popular sovereignty, but administration is as important as it is constitutions. Because a good constitution can provide a necessary conditions for good administrative system, but it cannot be sufficient condition for entire edifice of the development, entire edifice of the governance. So that constitution should be as good as its administration. He further said that any administration which is doctrinally that administrative in character and carry the values of the constitutions. It should able to protect, promote the interest of the society, citizens and all. Getting my point? So this is the Wilson's vision with respect to the public administration. And his contribution was very significant, his contribution was very substantive, and his contributions was very you can call say insightful. That is why उसके थ्योरी के बाद जो ये पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एक सेपरेट डिसिप्लिन की तरह इमर्ज हुआ एंड कंटिन्यूसली ये डिसिप्लिन इवॉल्व होते चला गया एंड इट बिकम्स ए स्पेशलाइज्ड डिसिप्लिन एंड एक्सेप्टेबल डिसिप्लिन, ए प्रोफेशनलाइज्ड डिसिप्लिन, एंड दैट इज व्हाई पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इट बिकम्स ए established one. Getting my point? So with this line I am concluding the today's session. Hopefully the session is insightful and you also make your own notes on the basis of these classes. Definitely this will going to make a premise, a righteous base stand, so that your edifice of the optional and with respect to the public administration are going to be stronger and strengthened. Okay, so I'm wrapping up the video here. So we will again take up in the next video we'll take up some new concept. So goodbye, have a nice day, bye bye.